high tide right now, which was unexpected, as we started our casual hike through the trails near the beach. We chose to hike up trail number 1 to start. Up every trail is a path off of the main trail for bikers and walkers alike. The thick, dense ferns blanket the trail we chose to take a break. As a plane goes overhead, we soon come across an old stone wall built probably over 100 years ago. A hurricane in 1938 swept many houses out to sea in this area. A chipmunk carefully and playfully observes his surroundings as we walk by. It's hard to look at the massive trees that now fold over the forest floor and blanket the area with dead leaves. Pretty soon, the trail grows narrower and more rocky. And I have to wonder what it was like for a horse and buggy or someone traveling before paved roads were invented. Pretty soon, we come across a rock that comically looks like a little whale. A chipmunk sounded off in the distance as we approached, cautioning other small animals of our presence. Trail marker 22 stands proudly in front of another simple trail that looks easy to walk, but cautiously I stay on the main path. An unexpected surprise as we come across the tiniest little flowers along the edge of the forest. Soon we come across more stone walls hidden under thick brush, marking the way of other homes that existed here over 100 years ago. I look to my left and pleasantly find ripe raspberries ready to eat. I came to an unusual sight. There's some kind of deformity growing on that tree. If anyone knows what it is, please comment below. The trail starts to take a winding roundabout. And it's here where I see my next stone wall, depicting that some time ago there was a house with a family in it. More juicy raspberries are unfazed by a fallen branch that missed them by inches. Another park bench sits quietly, waiting for its next arrival. Another dangerous reminder how the terrain can suddenly be a trap for a bicycle tire. Such a serene feeling. Looking at this seemingly lone tree covering the trail we're walking through under the hot sun. A path to my left catches my eye as I notice a tree with no leaves, or a cedar tree with no growth. The bark is curiously painted white. A path to my right I must explore. The path forks into two. I notice the beautiful landscape of rocks, fern, trees, and it's so hard to choose which path to walk down. To my surprise, the path makes a complete circle. A vine hanging from a treetop reminds me of in the backwoods of my childhood farm, where I once swung on vines similar over the little pond. At the top of the path, there's another path. I chose not to walk down it today as it's getting later in the afternoon, and I want to make sure I'm back around the 3-mile loop before the park closes for the evening. Grapevine leaves are enjoying the sun as the sun hits the path and the leaves find a way to bear their fruit. We finally make it to marker number 17, surrounded by yet another stone wall, a large rock, and some very thick brush and dead trees. Another interesting path, looks very discreet as the sun shines through and glistens off of the treetops. I thought I would explore this one a little bit. I can hear a ferry out in the water, and I believe we're close. I carefully maneuver around the poison ivy as I notice another stone wall. And I'm saddened to think of all the homes and lives destroyed by one hurricane that swept through here in 1938 and knocked down all of the homes that once stood on the waterfront. I see more raspberries and wonder if early settlers lived off the land and off of the fruit it bore. Little white flowers peek out of the thick, dense brush, and I notice they're similar to the wild roses that grow in my own yard. More tiny purple flowers peek up from the earth, surrounded by thick foliage, tall trees, and blue skies. Another trail points to a rock at the end of a small winding path. Careful not to brush up against poison ivy. At the end of the trail, I notice there's another path that curves around the rock. I'm trying to make it to the waterfront, so I stop here and turn back. Another charter plane flies off into the distance as I take in the beauty of a single Queen Anne's lace flower. As I approach the next curve in the road, I see trees that are leaning over but have not yet fallen into the path. And I'm glad it's clear for my walk today, as I didn't bring a chainsaw with me. We took the corner and had another stark reminder of the path's dangerous ebbs and flows, as this grassy hill could pose a threat to a bicyclist not paying attention. Soon we get a glimpse of the waterfront, straight ahead. The path to it just lingers around the corner. A charter plane flies overhead, as they often do in the summer, taking passengers on short excursions. Sweet honeysuckle grows around in abundance. And fills the air with a sweet surprise. Across from a bench is the path we've finally been looking for. Bumblebees and flowers line both sides of the path leading to the water's edge. It's a short, windy hike down to the water's edge. I can already hear people and possibly dogs enjoying the cool waters under the hot sun. I can hear the water's waves crashing as I notice a strange pod growing from a leaf along the path. It's high tide as we end to the path and lead to the waterfront. There are people partying on a boat, and the waves are crashing with a magnificent sound as other boats pass by in the distance. Flowers surround the water's edge. This one seems to have a purple center, but is closed up for the night. There's also these pretty yellow, feathery type of stems here that result in a large pod at the top of their branches. In addition, there are these tiny little yellow flowers on a vine that cover the gravel walkway along the beach. Fast-moving boats, planes overhead, sailboats afar, all enjoy the beautiful day here. Waves crash right up to the end of the trail. You can see the dangerous edges of rock sticking up as a precaution to bikers and hikers alike to watch your footing and step carefully. Erosion has washed away part of the path as two bicyclists just passed by. The songs of birds fill the air as more charter planes hover above. I come to a giant tree, and I can't help but think how much fun it would be to get up there in the bottom branch and curl up with a good book. More boat propellers in the distance as we near the ocean front. In a previous video, I mentioned how there are certain vines that might grow up trees and choke them out. And here's an example of the raw sticks that appear through the green branches covered in vines. We've made it to trail marker 13. What awaits us around this bend? And then we finally see it. Ocean. Ski jets fly through the water. How fun. I tried to catch the ski boats for you guys. Here's a nice panoramic view. The nice sound of the waves. I'm going to record as I walk. Sorry about the crushed gravel noise under my feet. So you can all see the beautiful water, the sun shining on it. This is what I call poor man's waterfront property. It's for the enjoying pleasure of all. As another charter plane flies over, I quickly want to note all the large grapes. I hear a child squeaking with delight in the background. I did a prior video on the grapes growing in my own garden. I can tell people have been picking these to eat. There are multiple paths to get to the top of the ridge where we're going. The last time we came up here, the bench had been stolen. So what we usually do is just find a rock and sit down. This is a very sharp, rocky path. You have to be very careful hiking up this. You can see the waterfront. I do hear another plane overhead. Sorry about that, we're near an airport. So there's charter flights out of here all day long. If you've seen some of my videos that I film in my own backyard, you've probably heard them going over. There's another plane. Here's the top. So that's the party boat we saw. All kinds of boats. Look at that glistening water. I'm so glad I wore sunblock today. Some people enjoying the water down there. I don't want to disturb their peace. People fishing. All kinds of things happening here. Hot, hazy day. A boat anchors stationarily right off the side of the beach. We stopped to rest at the beach among the seagrass and seaweed and sharp shells. We don't have a sandy beach here to speak of. All of the shells make up the walking path from here on out. You can see how sharp it would be on your feet if you were to come here barefoot. Pretty wild roses line bushes along the seacoast. I enjoy the sight of the different flowers and berries along where the water is. These would make a pretty arrangement on your table. From shades of pink to white, this oceanside view offers plenty of color. A plane goes by with a banner. Dead crab legs peek out from the water's edge as a reminder of the type of wildlife that lives here. Another exquisite patch of flowers and berries. Ironically, near sand, which is much needed down by the ocean shorefront. I sit down to take a break, and I see birds flying in the air, resting along the seashore. On this side of the park, the water is very murky. There are people fishing behind me. But this side of the seashore is sandy. I see a jellyfish. I see a jellyfish. That's cool. I see a sailboat out in the distance. It looks so beautiful just sitting there on the water with the waves crashing in the background.